Michigan, Ohio State, the big game. And obviously from a betting perspective, look at this. Ohio State catching big points against Michigan, 4.5 or 5 points. That is a lot of line respect that the market is giving Michigan. It's understandable, though. Ohio State has clearly been overvalued this year. I think they've lost 6 out of the last 7 or 7 out of the last ATS. Last week, of course, they went to overtime in a game where they were a 2-touchdown favorite. Clearly, up till now, Ohio State has been overvalued, and now they're catching points against Michigan. Do you think that they are one more week going to be a good fade, Joe Gavassi?
I do think that, and I'll give you a clue about who I like in this game. We're going to make this the revenge game of the week in my point spread prognosis newsletter. Pair of 10-1 straight up teams vying for the Big Ten showdown and the right to face Northwestern, get to the Big Ten championship game, and in the case of Michigan, maybe even a shot at the Final Four, providing they get a couple more wins. Last year, Ohio State prevailed in this matchup 31-20, outrushing Michigan 226-100. How strange does that seem this year? Nonetheless, it was the 13th time in the last 14 years the Buckeyes had prevailed, including all 6 times in the Urban Meyer area. Speaking of Urban Meyer, one of the greatest records of any coach at his school in the history of football, so far as coach of Ohio State, playing a very rugged national and Big Ten schedule, he's 83-9 straight up, including 40-3 straight up on this field, and now we get him as a home dog. But as we've spoken about before on this show, this team just not the same as the preseason turmoil that has plagued this team finally has begun to show up on the betting line. This is a great chance for Michigan State to gain their revenge. Remember, this is the 4th revenge opportunity for the Wolverines this college football season, as they have already defeated Michigan State 21-7, Penn State 42-7, and Wisconsin 38-13 in their revenge games. This would have them hit for the cycle all four games that they have revenge in the Big Ten, and I think they do just that. How do they do that? Well, they do that with the #1 defense in the country, a unit allowing just 14 points a game, 235 yards per game, and 4.0 yards per play. Michigan catches Ohio State at the perfect time and gets their revenge.
All right. I'm still not sure what I think here. I'm thinking that maybe Ohio State now might actually be, now they're in a position of getting points. A pretty sizable underdog might actually be worth a shot. Joe Gavassi, we're going to give you -4.5, -108. It is a split line, and Ohio State has been a terrible bet this year, but in the 2 games with competitive spreads, they actually did well. Their one game where they did actually get a cover over the last 7 games was in the Michigan State game, where they were just a 3.5-point favorite. And the only other time this year where they had a competitive spread was against Penn State. They were at Penn State. They lost by 3, but they won that game. So clearly, Ohio State seems to be overvalued this year when they are a big favorite against teams that they supposedly are outclassed. But in games with competitive spreads, the degree to which Ohio State is overvalued appears to be much more muted. And now, for the first time this year, they're getting points. I got to be honest, I'm thinking maybe Ohio State might be the play here. Ian Cameron, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, from a matchup perspective, I like Michigan, but I don't like the number at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 4.5 here. Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines have not shown yet any sort of recent history that they can go on the road and beat ranked opposition. I mean, that's all there is to it. They didn't do it against Notre Dame. You can argue that this is going to be their next best opponent since then. There's problems with this Ohio State defense. There may be problems with this team just in general. They have not looked the same since the Urban Meyer stuff blew over. Since he came back on the sideline, it's looked like a team that's made mistakes, turned the ball over, penalties, bad defense, shredded on the ground. That could be an issue here, facing this Michigan team that obviously likes to run the football quite a bit. But the one thing I just can't get by, even though I'm leaning Michigan, which I bet them before I bet Ohio State, I can't get over the Urban Meyer underdog track record.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just good, it's great.
Right.
He's been an underdog only 4 times at Ohio State, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread. I believe he won all 4 of those games outright as an underdog. We remember Cardale Jones against Alabama in the college football playoff years ago. They beat Oregon in the national title game as an underdog. I think they were an underdog either last year or 2 years ago. They won that game outright. He's just been phenomenal in the underdog role. good enough that I'm worried that this price range is not the one I'm comfortable with backing Michigan in. So lean Michigan, but will not be an official play.
Exactly. And every time Ohio State is an underdog, you might look at the Ohio State team this year and say, like, all right, but that was in years past. This year they're terrible. But every time Ohio State is an underdog, there's a legit reason for them to be so. Either they are undervalued, or either they are underwhelming in terms of their expectations, or they're playing, the top team in the nation or another elite team. So there's always a reason why Ohio State is an underdog, as there is a reason why they are here as well. I'm leaning under, and I'm leaning Ohio State here. Ian Cameron, what do you think about a shot with the under? As you said, there might be a lot of running in this game, and Urban Meyer likes to run up the score a lot of times when he's a big favorite and playing teams that he can just dominate. In a situation like this, I'm thinking the under might be the play at 57. There's a split line, 56, 56.5, or 57 at the Greek, and I'm leaning Ohio State. What do you think about the under, Ian?
Yeah, I don't hate it, Pete. I don't hate it. I'm probably not going to be involved in the total, but I will say this. Ohio State and Michigan, they've had this weird way of having these, drabby, low-scoring, plodding type of football games in recent seasons, and we could have that here. Again, it's an early start game. You've got two teams that I know Ohio State's defense has been shaky, but it's not like Michigan is a explosive, big play offense. These are going to be methodical drives, read option on the Ohio State side, methodical drives that should take time off the clock. The under's already been bet down a bit. I could see why. It looked a little high at 59, down to 56, 56.5 now. I lean under too, but I'm going to stay away from the total.
All right. Well, I'd think about this one a little bit more later on in the week, because right now all I'm thinking about is games like Coppin State against Southeastern Missouri State in college basketball. But later in the week, I will pay more attention to these big college football games. And as of right now, definitely leaning under, and a modest lean to Ohio State as well. But Joe Gavassi is going to make an official pick with Michigan -4.5, -108. That's the best line right now at Pinnacle.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.